This video is not for Whales and Dolphins, it's for you, because you are just like me. Average Gamer here, and today I want to talk about Hugo, and more specifically, I want to talk about why I'm not going to be pulling Hugo, but why you maybe actually still should consider him. So let's start with the positive, let's start with the plus, and let's start with why you should still consider pulling for Hugo. The first big thing for me is his team flexibility. And I know. He wants 2 stun agents in order to get the most attack buff. And hear me out, I think that's actually a really good thing, because it means that you're going to be able to build teams that you wouldn't if Hugo wasn't part of that team. So at the moment, we're kind of having a bit of a support problem where you want to put the really good supports on all of your teams. So to be able to run a team that doesn't require a really good support like Astra or Nicole, or to an extent maybe even Lucy, by just running 2 stun agents, he gets a 900 attack buff. He gets an additional 600 from that second stun agent, and that's basically the entirety of Lucy's buff. Yeah, I know she does other stuff as well, but like in terms of that raw attack damage buff, that's what she provides. So it actually just means that the good, more universal supports that we want to use on a lot of our other teams are kind of just freed up, because you know you can just run Hugo with those 2 stun agents. And if you're a day 1 player and you've maybe pulled a couple of limited S-rank stun agents that you don't necessarily always use, for example, maybe you pulled Lighter before Evelyn came out, because the first time Lighter came around, Evelyn wasn't even in the game. And then, maybe you tried him out with Miyabi for a bit, but then ultimately you settled on a different team for Miyabi, and then your Lighters kind of just sat there not really doing anything. You may have also got Lycan from the standard banner. You may have also got Khalida from the standard banner. And I think a lot of day 1 early players might just be sitting on a perfect team for Hugo. It kind of just opens that door for him to just slot in, and it means that you can pull him, just build 1 character because your other characters are already built, and then you can just slot him straight in. And I think for newer players as well, the idea that they just need 2 stun agents on the team and then they're going to get that big 900 attack buff is also pretty good, because it means that they don't necessarily also have to pull Lighter, but they can run A rank Ambi, and then let's just cross our fingers and pray that they also got someone from the standard banner, hopefully Lycan, but even maybe Khalida, and that would still put them in a pretty good spot to run Hugo effectively. And I think that's the interesting thing to me, is that he frees up supports, and as much as, yeah, Astra's still probably best in slot in that 3rd slot, as well as one of her stun agents, but him being able to be run with 2 stun agents really effectively and the game encouraging that is kind of cool. And that to me is the most interesting part of Hugo's kit. I also think as well, he kind of offers a little bit of a different play style. He's he's pretty fun to play, and B, you barely play him. So the reason that he's fun to play is that you bring him on and then you do that big hit of that big totalized damage, and then you get that huge, very satisfying big totalize hit, which is kind of the same loop as Jane, except he gets much less field time with Jane when Jane builds up that anomaly bar, and then you see that really big assault. At least it did feel really big back in 1.1, and nowadays sometimes not so much. But anyway, Hugo is going to enable that kind of playstyle as well, where you get really big damage when you do bring him on for those stun windows. And by stun windows, I mean very short windows where he comes on and then ends the stun window. And if you are a newer player or even an older player and you want ice coverage because you don't already have it, now if you're an older player, as already mentioned, Hugo is our 3rd limited ice DPS, so you probably do have ice coverage. But if you are a newer player and you don't have that ice coverage, maybe you don't want to wait for a Miyabi rerun and you actually prefer Hugo from a design perspective, then I think, yeah, it makes sense to get him. It seems like from what we're seeing from the pre-release stuff, he does look really good. So I don't think it's a crazy idea to pull for Hugo for either a newer or older player, depending on your existing account state. And just to add on to that, if you just prefer Hugo's design to another character's and you want to run him as a DPS, I haven't mentioned it already, but yeah, it's waifu over meta or husbando over meta, or just pick the characters you like and then build the teams around them, guys. That's the way that you should play the game. That's the way that you'll probably get the most joy out of playing the game, is pulling the characters that you like and then actually clearing with those characters. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of reasons why people should pull for Hugo. And in just a moment, we'll talk about why you shouldn't. But before then, this is your reminder that you probably aren't subscribed. Liking and subscribing is a great way to support creators like me on YouTube. You can also drop me a follow over on Twitch. We do silly stuff sometimes. I don't think I hit it. I don't think that doesn't sound good. And join the Discord. It's a great place to hang out with cool, chill Zenless Zone Zero enjoyers. Okay, so let's talk about why you shouldn't pull Hugo. So if you are an older player, you probably already have that ice coverage. So you will maybe have Ellen from very early on in 1.0. And if you're an older player who maybe didn't start in 1.0, or maybe you skipped Ellen because you wanted Yuan, which I can definitely understand, then you probably would have got Miyabi in 1.4. Now, if you're in that boat and you still kind of want Hugo, I don't think it's too crazy to get him. But if you're in a boat of, we're probably only going to need an ice character or an ice DPS for one side of Shiyu defense and for the Deadly Assault. Now, and for one enemy on Deadly Assault. Now, at the moment in Shiyu defense, I think both sides are Ice and Ether weak, which is kind of interesting, I'm not going to lie, but they are both elements. It's not like they're both Ice weak. And I don't think we'll ever be in a situation where we get single element weaknesses on, and they're the same on both sides, as in Ice on one side and Ice on the other side, with no additional Ether or whatever, because that would just really limit the amount of potential teams that could still clear effectively at lower investment levels. And I don't think they would really want to do that. They don't really want to make the end game that hard. So I don't think that that's something that you'll have to worry about basically ever, because there should be variation and you should be encouraged to build more than one different type of team, and you should be encouraged to build different weaknesses. So here's the thing. Yeah, you could pull him for ice coverage, but most players who have been playing for a little while probably don't need him for ice coverage. And to that point, even if you kind of do need him for ice coverage, but maybe you skipped out on Miyabi, or you weren't playing when Miyabi came around, and now you have been playing since maybe 1.5, I think that you should maybe still wait for a little bit, because we're probably going to see a Miyabi rerun, if not in 2.0, maybe 2.1, 2.2. So, you know, you'll be able to get potentially a better ice DPS by just waiting a little bit. But I guess that's always the way with gachas, is that if you just wait a little bit, you can probably just get a better version of what you already have. But if you like a thing, then maybe you should pull a thing. And as we're starting to talk about looking towards the future, yeah, 2.0 hype is coming. It is real. We're going to get Yixuan, who has been listed as a Void Hunter level investigator, for whatever that means. So I guess what I'm trying to say about that is that, yeah, the husbandos always get shafted and get put in the patch before the really built up characters get released. But if you're looking for a DPS and you're not necessarily too concerned about element, or you already have the ice coverage, then it probably makes more sense to wait for Yixuan. And as we head into those 2.0 patches, we may see a bit of a power increase. We may also see Miyabi rerun. So as much as, yeah, the husbandos are getting shafted, I wonder if they're being sent out to die so that the dev team can say, oh, hey, these husbandos didn't sell. Can we just go back to making hot waifus? I don't know, maybe. But yeah, from the pre-release videos that we've seen about Hugo, he does look good. You could consider him, but he's not Miyabi level good. And I think that's kind of where I'm coming down on the why I shouldn't, is because, yeah, I feel like I have the coverage for that element. I feel like I'm not going to need more than one lot of coverage for that element, especially because I do have pretty decent coverage for the Ether element. And yeah, I'm sure a lot of other players will do too. So I guess that's where I am on the whole thing. Hugo just doesn't make sense for me in my account right now. As much as I actually do think he's a very cool and interesting character, I don't think I've been sold enough to just husbando pull him. And yeah, that's where I am right now. But anyway, let me know what you guys are planning to do down below. As always, remember to like and subscribe. Bet now good luck on all your pulls. Pull responsibly. Stay weird. Good luck to those of you who are pulling. And bye. Bye.